You know, it's almost like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. It's a jungle out there when it comes to different game boxes, but what is actually in game box when you're picking up from AliExpress? Different devices out there. In my opinion, way too many. But this is just these plug and play solutions, so what you're going to get is the game stick itself. Yep, it's just a plug and play device. The only thing you need to take consideration is that because of the width of the device itself, sometimes it doesn't fit your board and you need an extension cord for that. In the box we're going to get ourselves everything that we're going to need, including an extension cord. I think it's very convenient because you're not going to get this every single time. The device itself is going to be powered by 5 volt and you're going to plug in the micro USB cable here at the side. Then we're having here the SD card. Take consideration they are using very cheap quality ones, so it's highly recommended to make a backup and to put it maybe on a higher quality, because these things are really slow and bad quality and can get corrupted fairly easy. So when it comes to the controllers, they're always like giving you these PlayStation 2 knockoff wireless controllers. And I can tell you the quality is very different from each product I'm reviewing. First of all, oh, it smells really chemical. There's a sign that is not a good sign at all. So first of all, the touch of the ABXY buttons is not great at all. We do have a little bit better quality joysticks with the rubberized joystick, because the cheap ones have just a plastic layer over it. Then we're having the D-pad, feels quite nice, and the normal shoulder buttons. And at the back we're going to get ourselves the battery compartment. Yeah, and I can tell you this is very difficult to basically remove the cover. It's absolutely a pain in the ass. But we're going to need 2 AAA batteries, and at the bottom we're going to find an on-off switch to turn the device off. But I did notice sometimes we have in battery saving with some of the controllers, so it will automatically go off when you basically like still have it turned on. But after waiting for a couple of minutes, this is what you're going to get. But what they did with this game stick is slightly different with your typical Super Console X. First of all, there is no way of changing anything out. When pressing select or start like normal, you're going to get an extra menu where you can swap the theme and stuff like that. That doesn't work at all. You need to press select and start. Here we're going to get ourselves the emulation station settings. Here we can basically go into the settings and we can check out what kind of signal output we wanted to use. Always show the boot video, so that's something you can turn off if you don't want to see that. Here we're having unlock settings, but the weird thing is input code to unlock. So we need to put in a code to unlock this feature, and that's a little bit unfortunate. We do have the option to control settings, but that's it. So if you want to change out anything, there is nothing to do about it. If there is a problem with a certain emulator, it's going to be absolutely difficult. But what I wanted to focus mainly, we're going to focus on PlayStation 1 all the way up to their PlayStation Portable, just to see how it's actually going to be running. Spoiler alert, it's going to be not having like perfect support for every single emulator, simply because this is a low power specification chipset. And for some emulators we need to have a lot of power, sometimes even a mini PC to run them perfectly. So what you can change when pressing select to start the first time, we're going to get ourselves the option for the RetroArch. But the weird thing is, I cannot do anything at this point, so I don't know what's going on, why it has a problem sometimes. You need to mess around, press some buttons. Then it finally started to do something. Here we're going to close the content, but it automatically goes back to the main menu. So we cannot really mess around with RetroArch if you have some issues. So the first thing I've noticed, that they're using this weird looking polished filter over it. And also we don't have an aspect ratio option. Normally we do have it with some cool bezels, but so far I can see there is no way of changing that out. So we're stuck with what you're seeing over here. But if you're into the old school stuff, on a plug and play device like this, it runs just fine. Moving on to the Sega CD, here we can find some couple of games. There are not a lot of them on here, unfortunate, but they don't use the weird filter that we've seen with the Super NES. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to check out is some Sega Dreamcast. Let's try some Dead Alive 2, one of my favorite games to play, but also a very demanding game. And you can already hear from the beginning that it struggles. And that is what you're going to get with these cheaper devices. I just wanted to move to the Sega Dreamcast part with only the 2-dimensional games. Simply because sometimes 3-dimensional games are too demanding for these low power chips. but you're going to get a little bit better performance when it comes to the two-dimensional stuff. And also a great way to test the D-pad. Yep, the D-pad is absolutely great. So where we have like a lot of problems with the three-dimensional games, two-dimensional seems to be working just fine. But if you just want to check out some three-dimensional games, it's going to be also a mixed performance when it comes to PlayStation Portable. But surprisingly, there are some games that seems to be playable. I'm quite surprised to see that when pressing select and start, we do have the option to go back to the PP-SSPP emulator. And what we can do is very simple. Pressing select start, you can make a quick save, quick load if you want to. And here you can even mess with the settings. Take consideration with these low power chips, there's not a lot of stuff you can mess with, simply because everything has been set to a certain resolution. But it's quite surprising that they set it to 2x resolution. That's kind of weird, to be honest, because that isn't not a great thing they did there. It's going to be looking slightly better, but we do have like a limitation when it comes to the FPS. So again, there is still room for improvement, and you can always mess around if you want to. Next up, I just wanted to check out some DS on here just to see actually how it works. The first thing I did notice now is that we do have a problem with the settings. We cannot really easily go back. And we cannot switch the screen to a certain position. So I don't know what's going on with this, but also the reset doesn't work by pressing select and start. So I'm stuck in the freaking emulator. Let's move on to N64, and I can already tell you a lot is not going to be working like it should be. And I mean particularly when it comes to like more demanding games. You can really see at the right we do have a weird thing going on. It's absolutely on low resolution, no upscaling. Alright, so let's see check out if every single button has been mapped. The button mapping is absolutely great. The shooting, they have been mapped to the shoulder buttons. But the overall gameplay is not bad at all. So when it comes to PlayStation 1, we have so many devices now that can play it correctly. Bloody Roar 2 is one of those benchmark games that I wanted to check out to see how it runs. No upscaling whatsoever, but we do have some great performance. So if you just want to enjoy some old school PlayStation 1, they look great. The solution is quite simple. It's old tech slapped into a stick. This is more like a plug and play solution they're having. You just plug it in and you can just play your games, and don't be afraid that you're going to mess something up when it comes to the overall software. There is no tinkering required, but there is also no tinkering that you can do with it. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and it would be great to see you in the next video.